Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zone as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You may find us syndicated on television. That's Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Michele, I wanted to tell you and make this announcement for you. We are now in South Carolina, and we are on Country Giant WZLA. So it's a country station. They air the show now on Saturdays at 9 a.m. So we're really excited about that. And you can find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. So go ahead and check them out. Check out their morning show, by the way. You'll love it. If you wake up and you're just not a morning person, you're just really draggy, they'll wake you up. You won't need 5 cups of coffee, just one. So anyway, go ahead and check those folks out. Continue sending emails, by the way, Donna at donnasedge.com. That's Donna at donnasedge.com. Always glad to get your emails. They make my day. Michele Bland is with me. She's a friend of mine. We've been friends for a very long couple of decades, maybe now. And so good to be with you, Michele. Michele is an author and has written several books. Let's talk about what's the latest. What are you doing now?
The last one that I did was The Shift That Broke Me. And it was something that I developed for CNAs, nurses, anyone that's in the healthcare field. And basically, sometimes before I go into work, I have to sit in my car and get my mind ready to go in. Yeah. So I developed it like that while you're sitting there. It has like little prompts. It'll ask you questions basically to help you to get yourself ready to go in. And then when you leave work, so that you don't take out your day's events on your family, there's a section there for you to kind of decompress before you go home. Huh. And then I created a little section for you to monitor CNA burnout so that, you don't overwhelm yourself with work, because it can be very overwhelming sometimes, especially if you're working short. It can be very overwhelming. So I created it with the CNAs and healthcare, providers in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially these days, COVID took a big hit to everybody, and a lot of companies just don't have enough employees, that go around. And I'm just telling you, a lot of folks are having to work for 2 and 3 people. Yeah, and it can be a bit much, especially when, like for example, my job, the census is going up, but you don't always have the staff to match the census. Most of the time we do. We've been blessed on that, but it's like a CNA shortage everywhere you go, especially like the nursing homes and the assisted living places, and I think even the hospitals. And it's not just CNAs; it's nurses as well. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you a hard industry that would be a restaurant business. And I'm going to tell you what, you go into restaurants and you'll watch those servers, make sure you tip them, because you see them, they are running around like crazy and, doing the job of 2 other servers, or maybe in some cases in 3 servers. Yeah. But something, we need to be kind to those folks and folks who are working in service industry, like your nursing homes and staff positions like that, because it's overwhelming and people just don't appreciate those positions, and they don't know what all you have to do. So let's explain to folks what you do on a daily. What's your daily schedule?
Well, luckily for me, I work a night shift, so. I go in at night, and the first thing, that I do is I do a head count, make sure all my residents are there. We usually have to do laundry for them. And then every 2 hours, we round on them to make sure that they're okay, that nobody is in the floor or someone, isn't in dire need of assistance. Mm-hmm.
I've worked second shift before, and it's basically the same thing. You go in, you do a head count. You want to make sure all your people are there, and if they're not, where are they? Are they out with a family, within the hospital? You want to know where your people are when you enter the unit. Then on second shift, you have to feed them, and you have to give showers. And, when you have enough people, all that is wonderful. But when you're short, it can become a bit challenging. You're still going to get the job done, but it's just, a little bit more stressful when you don't have the right amount of people to do it.
Well, and in some cases, when you're helping someone shower, well, then they're almost like they're dead weight because sometimes they can't lift themselves up, and you've got to do a lot of lifting, to get the job done right.
Yeah, and luckily, like, we have shower chairs, and so, you get someone to help you, and you transfer them over. So, they can sit there and relax while you clean them up and give them the shower. And I remember years ago when I first moved to North Carolina, they had this thing that was like a stretcher, I guess you would call it, like a shower mat or something. And you would roll the person on. It was like if somebody was like extremely big and you couldn't put them in the chair, and you would just roll them onto it and just roll them into the shower. And with them laying down, you just did the shower there. And I think it had, if I remember correctly, it had a thing on the back where you could kind of raise them up a little bit. But most of the time they wanted to be, they just wanted to lay there while you did it. So we'd let them lay there and relax, kind of like they were at a spa.
I was about to say, that sounds like a spa.
Right. Whatever makes the resident comfortable, that's what you do, to keep them happy. And especially during showers, because some people get really, really stressed out when they get showers. Some of them have fallen and, have gotten injured. So when you give them a shower, you want them to feel comfortable. You want them to enjoy it. So, you do those little extra things to make them happy, Oh,
how do you keep a patient from getting bed sores?
You have to turn them. Normally we turn them every 2 hours. If they're transitioning, we turn them more than that. But normally the standard is you turn them every 2 hours and you reposition them. And you don't want like bone on bone. If you turn them over, you want to put a pillow between their legs.
Oh, yeah, because their knees could be bony and cause issues. Right. Is that right?
Right. So you always want to make sure that you put something, like some people put pillows. I had one lady, she didn't like to feel a pillow, so I took a towel and I rolled it up and put that between her legs, and she liked that better. She just didn't like the way the pillow, felt. So, you do what you can to keep them happy,
Just moving. My grandmother had dementia. And so when my mother and sister were around, she was just trying to be aggravating to them. I mean, she really was. But I think they babied her too much. I think that's what it was. So when I would come in, when it would be my turn to come around, I treated her like she was still mama. And so I looked at her one time, and I think what it was is she was jealous because she was always busy. I mean, she was like the woman in the community. If there was a death or sickness in the family, she'd gather all the women up and say, "We're going to cook this," and she'd give them a menu. She was the leader of the pack. And then I mentioned I think she remembered some of that, but she was sad because she couldn't do it anymore. And she had fallen down and she broke her hip. So that meant she was just pretty much bedridden. And but when I came in, I would say things like, "I can't believe you're letting this house get like this. You've always been so clean." And she would just look up at me, and it made her, she wanted to do things. She wanted to be active. So I would just find something. I'd get a picture off of the wall, and they'd be clean, But anyway, I'd get it off the wall, and I'd give her. She had this feather duster. And so I would say, "Mama, you got to clean this. Company may come over. And then, we got to have it clean in here." And so she would just dust it. And then she would say, "I want another one. And I'd say, "Well, this house is pretty filthy. You got a lot to clean." And then she would just lay there and just do. So was I doing the right thing? Because my sister would look at me like I was mistreating her.
No, I don't think you were doing the right thing. I mean, that was something that she could relate to, and it made her happy. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to do things for them that they can still relate to. I mean, like if she's the type of person that reading books, bring a book. If she can't read it to her. They enjoy stuff like that. So many times people think that when they have dementia that they're gone, but they're not. They have moments of clarity, where they remember stuff. And, you know, for me, like I said, I just roll with the punches because you get to know your resident. Uh, like on my job, they have like a profile of them and you read about their past. And that helps out a lot because sometimes they'll be going through something. And if you know something about them, you can help them, you know, help them along in that situation. So it's important on my job that you know some background information, you know, their kids, their husband, what they did for a living, so that, you know, when they do have those moments of clarity, there's somebody around that they can talk to. So you know, that means a lot. It really
Well,
does.
my grandmother was a fashionista. I mean, she had to wear pearls and she wore like dressy dresses and stuff like that. She made most of her clothes and she knew how to do it too. I mean, she did it with style. And so I would come in and I would be coming in from work and she would just wake up and just be herself when I came in. And she had this thing that the color of your shoes needed to be the same color of the hem of your dress or your pants or your skirt,
Wow.
whatever. And so she would look at me and she'd say, well, now I like that top you got on. That's a pretty top. What color is your skirt? So she was laying in her bed. And she'd say, what color is the skirt? And I'd pull my dress up and I'd say, it's black or whatever color it would be. And she'd say, all right, now what color are the shoes? And see, it was just like she was just being herself from years ago. And I would say, now remember what you would tell me. You would always say, if you're wearing a black skirt, you got to wear black shoes. I've got black shoes on. And then she'd just be herself all over again because I didn't treat her like something was wrong with her.
But you know, even when they have dementia, the long-term memory is still intact. The short-term memory will be gone. But a lot of the stuff that they did from back in the day, they'll remember it. I went to this nursing home in particular when I used to be like a traveling CNA. And there was something on YouTube called Hooked on Swing. And they played like a lot of the older music from back in the day. And so I got a lot of the residents together around the TV and I put the music on and they enjoyed it so much. One of the residents even said to me, thank you for that blast from the past. Some of them, you know, some of them they could get up and dance. Some of them they could dance, you know, they was tapping their feet and clapping their hands. And that's the kind of, and Lawrence Welk is something else. That's from that era. And I tell people, play them Lawrence Welk. A lot of people today don't even know who Lawrence Welk is, but they love that stuff.
Yeah.
They love Lawrence Welk. They'll just sit there quietly for hours watching Lawrence Welk. As long as you keep them engaged and then, you know, play things that they can relate to. Because like a lot of places you go to, they want to play the stuff of today, the music of today. But that's not what they can relate to. You know, you got to put things out there that they can relate to. That keeps their attention, not your attention.
Oh, I remember every Saturday night going to my grandparents' house at 6 o'clock. Now, that was back in the day, you only had 2 channels. And so they turned it on Lawrence Welk at 6 o'clock.
My grandma watched him every Saturday faithfully. I don't care what was going on in the house. We had to shut down and be quiet because she had to watch her Lawrence Welk. Okay. And next was Hee Haw. I'll never forget Hee Haw. But,
I remember that one too.
Right. And all those things from their past, you know, they haven't forgotten that stuff just because they have dementia. It's like they hold on to that stuff. It's the only thing that's still left. So I love to do that when I go in and help out and I work a different shift, especially on second shift. They used to have a smart TV on my job and you could just pull up YouTube and just pull all that stuff up. I love YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube
yeah.
It's the best thing for like when you're working with the elderly, because all that stuff that they can relate to, they grew up with, is right there on YouTube. And you just go and pull it up and they're just as content, as happy watching that stuff. So that's
well, let me tell you what you can do. Let's say I hit the nursing home before you do. What you can do is just tell them to play Staying Alive, the Bee Gees. Okay.
yeah.
You can tell them to put the Bee Gees on for me because I really dig that. You know what, Michelle? I can't believe it. Over half the show is already over. Okay, so let's go ahead and go. I can't believe it. Let's go into a commercial break and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay? We'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing, including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
Okay, we're back. I'm with Michele. Michele, you know something? My old song, Staying Alive, Staying Alive. Okay, so now they're doing CPR. I know you've probably heard this. And what they tell you to do is go to the beat of Staying Alive from the Bee Gees. When you're
really? Wow.
Look it up on YouTube. You'll die laughing. It's so funny. Yeah, do Staying Alive. I'm staying alive, staying alive. So when you're doing the CPR.
Right. have to check that out.
The 70s are never going away as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so those are some fun times. So I got Michele Bland with me, and Michele has written several books. And but I wanted to mention this before we go to the next book. This book would be a good job for any career because I'm going to tell you what, I've been in some high pressure jobs before. And you got to take a minute to think before you take it out on your husband and your kids, or in some cases your wife and your kids. So
that's what I was thinking about when I sat down and I did that, because I thought about, like I said earlier, how sometimes when I go to work, I have to sit there and get my mind ready to go in and deal with it. Mm-hmm. And then when I get off from work, I got to sit outside of my car and think about the day that I just had. And so that's what I had in mind when I sat down and I created it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you did, because I'm going to tell you that book's going to help a lot of folks. Now, how can they find it?
It is on Amazon, and it's called The Shift That Broke Me. And currently, you'll find it has a CNA and a nurse on the cover of it. But I'm working on one that is also not just for people in the healthcare field, but any field. I'm working on that now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad you're doing this. Now, let's talk about the very first book you wrote. And I was so glad to have you on the show about that. Let's talk about that one.
A Secret is Born. Yeah. I actually, I try not to talk about that one, but that book was more like therapy for me.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of authors say that. And it'll wind up being a bestseller, and they'll say, well, really, I just wrote it for myself. And it just happened.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but when it did start coming to mind and I did start writing it, I didn't realize how relieving it was to put it down on pencil and paper. Mm-hmm. And just kind of deal with the feelings that I had, because that was something that I never really did before, was deal with it. So, and it's funny. I don't think people realize how therapeutic it is to put pen to paper and write down what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. People are so into getting their phones and tapping on their phones, and they're into technology. I'm an old school girl. I used to keep a diary when I was growing up, and stuff like that, to me, it helps. I go back and I reflect on it, and I sit and I read it. And that had a lot to do with some of the things that I created. I only have really 2 books that I wrote, and that was A Secret is Born, and then the other book was Unbearable Deceptions. Mm-hmm. And then I went from there and I started creating things that I thought people could use, like the Body Count Journal and Who's Watching Mom and Dad. That one, because I work in this field, that one I thought would benefit anybody who has a loved one in a nursing home, an assisted living facility, or even if there's somewhere like in rehab where you can keep track of everything that is going on with your loved one and hold people accountable when things aren't getting done, as well as recognizing people that you feel like go above and beyond, the call of what they need to do. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just created for you for like to have an aha moment, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. It was also for you to be able to recognize the people that you do think are doing their job and people that you want to recognize. Because people always going to go, when there's something not right, they're always going to go and they're going to complain to management. But wouldn't it be really cool to go and say, this person did this for mom and she does this for mom all the time. And I just want to say thank you and wanted to recognize her because she's a good employee. And I just want to say that. That would be another reason to use, Who's Watching Mom and Dad. Mm-hmm. Keep up with those good things, not just the bad, but the good as well.
Mm-hmm. There's just something about writing your thoughts down, like you just said, and again, not typing it in, not doing it that way. I'm from old school too. And so, just writing it down, in that paper, and I'm the same way with books. I mean, I've got this right here. Hardly ever read a book off of that. I've got a library here of books that I like to read. There's just something about turning that page and reading that book.
Right. I agree with you totally. But like some of my books, like the journals I created,
they're not really selling the way I thought they would. And my son said to me, Mom, you're in a whole different world. This is technology. Technology has made people lazy. They don't want to write their feelings down. They want to get on their phone or computer, whatever, and tap, 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 tap. But I said, you really miss something when you don't write stuff down. You know, like I said, I'm a firm believer in pencil to paper and just writing. It's like your emotions will flow out of you. And sometimes you're writing so fast, and then you have to stop and take a break and then go back and look at what you wrote. You know, because it just, when you start writing, it just takes over. But
Yeah, but your handwriting is nice, Michele. My handwriting is horrible. When I go back and look at some of the stuff I've written, I'm like, my goodness, what was I thinking? I can't even read it. And I'm like, that's why on reports and stuff like that I do when we have new customers to come in, Phil goes, type it. I can't read that. But it's all about communication. And sometimes, like on a job, you know, because employees come in, they have problems too. You know, and sometimes they're bringing those problems into the job. How can we get folks to focus more? I know you're running through some stuff, everybody does, but how can you get folks to sit and focus on their job when they're helping other people, especially the elderly?
Well, I mean, with us, like when we go in, sometimes, like you said, you go in and you get like a little distracted. I'll always tell somebody, you know, step off the floor and take a break. Because sometimes you need to step off, reset yourself, and come back refocused. Or as my old boss used to say, center yourself. You know, focus, center. And, but I try to make sure that when I go in on the job that I'm already centered. That's why I sit in my car and woosah and get my mind right. So when I go in, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So you got to be ready for that. I mean, the job is a total different thing. And, you know, and you're helping so many people.
Yeah, I've been doing this work for years, and sometimes it can be depressing, especially when you get like attached to a resident and they pass away. That's why I try not to, because I had like my little resident when I first came back to the field working, and she was so funny. A lot of people didn't like to work with her because she was a finger painter, and I'll explain that later on. But I'd go in and clean her up, and we'd talk and laugh while I was cleaning her up. Mm-hmm. One day she fell, and I remember I said to her, I said, I'll see you when you get back. And she said, okay. And then when I came back to work, she wasn't there. And I said, you know, I asked, is she, you know, coming back? What's going on? They said, oh, she passed. And I was like, oh, wow. And I don't know, you know, it really bothered me because, you know, like I said, I try not to get close to him. But she was so funny. Every night when I came in there, she always had something so funny to say. And, you know, sometimes no matter how hard you try not to get close to him, you do. You know, and
get close to them. Do you ever ask them about their younger days, what they did? Some of them will tell you. I mean, they'll tell you stuff their kids probably don't know they did.
Yeah, I had one little resident. She was so funny. You'd come in her room and she would drop down to the floor and shake her hips and get back up and say, "You didn't think I could still do that, did you?" I was like, "Please don't do it again."
Put me and you in the same room, Michele. And we'll show the young people how to do it. I'll give you that promise. How about that?
Okay.
Michele Bland is with me, right? I can't believe the show's already over. So Michele Bland, my friend and author and speaker. I think you speak also. But thank you again, Michele, so much for being on the show with me. It's always a delight. How can folks find your books?
Go to Amazon and type in Michele Bland. That's the easiest way because all of my books will come up once you type in my name. But Michele with one L, Michele Bland, and everything that I've done will come up under my name.
There you go. Thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing. I'm the caregivers. I'm going to tell you, folks like that can use these books. So go ahead and take those books. I promise you'll be glad you did. Michele, we're going to call it a day. And guys, thank you again so much for watching. Continue sending emails, Donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna@donnasedge.com. We'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.
Bye.